Hello, friends. Welcome to the very first episode of the Seasons of Joy podcast. I am so glad that you are here. My name is Jill Pack, and I am a certified life coach and a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And I am the owner of a coaching practice called Seasons Coaching. I work with women of faith who find themselves struggling to navigate the different seasons of their life, or who just feel stuck and unsatisfied in their relationships with themselves, with others, or with God. I help them see that it is possible to experience joy no matter the season or the circumstance. I wanted to begin this podcast by telling you a little bit about why I'm doing it, and then a little bit about me and why I came to be a life coach. So, why am I doing this podcast when there are so many out there? What could I possibly add that you haven't already heard? Well, the reason I'm doing this podcast is to add my voice for good into the world. That's my purpose, to share the things that I've learned and I continue to learn that help me find more joy in my life and that might help you. I am married to my husband, Phil. We've been married for 30 years, over 30 years. We met at Utah State University, go Aggies, and we are in the mid-season of our life. We live in a small town in Cache Valley, Utah. We've raised all 5 of our children here. 3 of our children are married to wonderful spouses, and we have 2 adorable grandchildren. We are officially empty nesters. And I will tell you that it has been an adjustment for us, to say the least. A few years ago, I found myself questioning what my purpose was. And now that my children were all getting ready to leave home, 4 of them had moved out. And I had my youngest daughter getting ready to enter her senior year of high school. I had been mostly a stay-at-home mom up to this point, so for about 28 years. I had some side things that I did, but for the most part, I had chosen to stay home, and I loved it. It was definitely challenging, but it's what I wanted to do, and I was blessed to be able to do it. I am so grateful for the opportunity to do that, and everything that I learned in that season of my life. My children are amazing, and they taught me so much, and I love each one dearly. So there I found myself at a point in my life when no one needed me quite the same. All 5 of our children were paving their own way. They were discovering where they wanted their lives to go and what they wanted them to be. I didn't know if I really understood at this season of my life that this season would actually ever happen. Right? I had been in the groove of mothering and nurturing for so long that I hadn't really considered things would be different, really. But there I was, wondering, now what? I also had had some relationships in my life at the time that felt strained, that felt hard, and they just didn't look like I thought they would, or I believed that they should look. So I was struggling. I felt stuck and lost. And you've all heard the phrase midlife crisis, right? We tell jokes about that all the time, but that's what it felt like. It felt like life was happening to me, and I was just observing, and I was not experiencing a lot of joy. About this same time, I started following a few life coaches. One in particular is Jody Moore. We're of the same faith, and everything she shared and continues to share with me resonated and resonates. I began applying the concepts she taught, and I began to see my life change. I began to view this season of my life not as a crisis. I'd actually heard another coach that I was following referred to it as an awakening, a midlife awakening. And the funny thing about this whole thing was my circumstances did not change. The people in my life did not change. The only thing that really changed for me was me. I changed, which was life changing. A little while later, I had an opportunity to attend an in-person coaching workshop, and it was for 5 days where I would be able to dive deeper into the thought work, life coaching, these concepts that I had been implementing in my life. And I was just so curious to learn about these concepts and understand them better. So I decided to go. I went all by myself. I didn't know anyone. I signed up to have a roommate that I didn't know before. And there were 50 of us there, 50 women there in Spokane, Washington for 5 days of teaching, learning, and coaching. I made friends and I found connections with some amazing people that were seeking to understand all these concepts better too. But to be honest, I really didn't go thinking that I would become a life coach. That really was not my intention at all. At the time, I didn't totally understand what being a life coach meant. I'd heard of life coaches in the past, but I honestly believe that it was just a little hokey. So I just wanted to go and learn more how to apply these concepts in my own life at a deeper level. But what I observed, it seemed like most of the women there had a goal to become a life coach. It would come up in conversations and people would talk about who they wanted to coach, what their niche would be, and just the excitement of becoming a life coach. And when people would ask me if I was going to become a life coach, I actually would just laugh and just say, I don't really know why I came, but I just wanted to learn more, right? I really didn't know why I had gone. I just needed to learn more. So again, being a life coach was not my intention at all. And to tell you the truth, I actually didn't even want to be coached at this workshop. I just wanted to watch and learn. I wanted to be in the background. So during this conference, I did not volunteer to be coach. I actually avoided it, which wasn't too hard because there were a lot of eager people that wanted to be coached. And so I could stay in the background and watch and learn. And there's a lot of learning that happens when you watch, but there's another level of learning when you're actually coached. Well, day 5 of this conference came, and most people in my group, we'd been divided into smaller groups, knew that I had not been coached yet. And when the coach asked if there was anyone that hadn't been coached yet, the whole room pointed at me. My stomach got tight and I just felt so anxious. I wanted to crawl under that table right then and there. But because of what I had been learning up to this point, I just let myself feel it without reacting to it. I didn't run out of the room even though I wanted to. I just noticed myself, and I noticed where that anxiety was in my body and what it felt like. And I relaxed into it. And then I reminded myself, and I can still picture myself sitting there having this conversation in my brain, like, okay, Jill, like this is what this feels like in your body. And it's because of sentences in your brain. But everything's going to be just fine. This isn't going to hurt you. It's going to be okay. And it was. I was coached, and now I love to be coached, and I love to coach others. Well, fast forward a few months later, I was home and I was thinking about this experience of learning and just thought work and coaching, and I just kept thinking about it. And my love for this work just grew and grew. And my desire to share it with other people grew and grew. It just so happened at this time that registration for the Life Coach School would be opening up soon. And the coaches that I followed had all gone to the Life Coach School and been certified. And so I had it in the back of my mind, and it was opening up. And I just couldn't shake the desire that I had, that I wanted to go. So one day when I was just really thinking about it, I finally was honest with myself. I actually did want to become a life coach. I love this work and I wanted to share it with other people. And so that day, I remember telling myself, okay, Jill, if this is what you want to do, earn the money and then go for it. And I did. I was going to go all in. So with that goal in mind, I went to work and I did it. I raised the money to attend the life coach school and I became a certified life coach, and I've created my own coaching practice. And one of the first blogs I wrote as I started my coaching practice, which was over a year ago, I decided to look into the meaning of joy. And it was around Christmas time, and so we're thinking about joy. And the interesting thing that I discovered in my studies was that in Greek, there are 3 words that share the same root. Now, I don't speak Greek, and I'm not sure how to pronounce them very well, but I'll do my best. And the root is zar. And the first word is zaro, which means rejoice, glad for grace. The second word is zaris, which means grace. And the third word is zara, which means joy. So all 3 of these words share a core meaning. So I'll repeat those meanings, right? Rejoice, glad for grace, grace, and joy. They all are tied together. And I feel like they bring together a beautiful truth and idea of delighting in God's grace. That we can experience God's grace or favor. We can be conscious of or glad for His grace. I believe joy is an invitation to be present with and aware of the divine grace of our Savior Jesus Christ. To delight, experience, and be conscious of the strength, love, and mercy He offers each one of us because He loves us. We often seek His grace more often, or we seek His grace more often in our struggles. This human experience includes messiness and manageability, imperfection and inspirational, trials and triumphs, grief and growth. And when we can embrace all of it, we actually open ourselves up to joy. As we turn to the Savior in our times of struggle, we're strengthened. And we are better able to feel His love, His mercy, His grace. We come to know Him, really know Him. And as we come to know Him, we begin to become more like Him. We invite growth into our lives, and we become better versions of ourselves. We're better able to love, to show mercy, and to offer grace not only to ourselves, but to others. I am 53 years old, and I am a grandmother, and I am still learning and growing, and I am loving this season of life. I'm learning to grow a business. I'm learning to find joy in life regardless of my circumstances. I'm learning to love deeply regardless of the choices of others. I'm learning how much we are really loved by our heavenly parents. We each are amazing and we matter. We're here on earth to become our best selves and to experience joy. This doesn't mean everything's going to go perfectly or that others will behave exactly the way we want them to. But through all the seasons and struggles of life is where we find joy. This contrast of life is what makes it truly beautiful. Without the bitter, we don't know the sweet. And the only thing that we can control in this life is the person that we want to be. The person we want to be right now. The person we want to be when things don't go as planned. The person we want to be when life is messy. and the person we want to be when we're brought to our knees in sorrow. My goal with this podcast is to share with you things I've learned and that I continue to learn that may help you find more joy in your seasons of life. Over the next few weeks, I want to share with you a principle I call the pause principle. It's a 3-part principle, and I'm going to cover each part a different week. And this principle has helped me find and create more joy in my life. And I'm excited to share it with you. I want to thank you for listening, and I wish you a joyful week. If you want to learn more, I invite you to go to seasons-coaching.com. And I'll see you next time.